Okay, today for our second video, we are going to talk a little bit about um, self-publishing terms and kind of the misconceptions of what self-publishing means and what self-publishing really is. Um, so there's lots of things you hear when you hear the term or you talk about the term self-publishing. One of the main ones is vanity press. So a vanity press is first let's say it like this. All of the old school thoughts about publishing a book are pretty much wrong. There's nobody who's mailing out query letters and getting large advance checks and becoming some world famous author. The odds of it happening are not, I can't even put them really probably into mathematical terms. So um, what people generally want to do is, because people think if somebody doesn't validate me, if somebody doesn't write me a check, then my content must not be good enough. But that's not really how this works. If you think about an athlete who goes to college to play athletics, a high level athlete, you think of, you had the NBA draft lottery last night, and sorry for all Knicks fans who thought they were getting Zion. They're probably not now. Even those kids who are elite, high end, they go to play amateur ball for a few years before, so people can see what their value is, and then they get drafted professionally. Minor league baseball players literally ride dirty buses and have $17 per diems per day for meals out there, slinging the horsehide around. Hopefully somebody's going to notice them and call them up to the bigs eventually. Well, being an author is real similar. You have to prove your value. Now, if you bring a platform of thousands of people, millions of Twitter followers, whatever, probably won't have a problem getting published. But if you don't have any inherent value that a publisher can see right away, then you're not getting a contract. You're just not. Doesn't matter how good your book is. It costs tens of thousands of dollars to publish a book traditionally. Why would they take that gamble on you when they can take that much smaller risk, much higher reward on an already established author? So that's why people self-publish, is to basically play minor league ball. Or that's why people who want to be commercially successful self-publish, is to play minor league ball. So the term vanity press, I get that phone call about once a week. I don't want to publish with a vanity press. It's not always a woman who does it. That was my old lady voice, but sometimes it's a man, who knows? Because they are used to self-publishing being, you hand a manuscript to a printer and he prints you 5,000 books and puts them in a box and puts them in your garage. That is, first of all, a terrible idea. Second of all, very expensive. And third of all, nobody does that anymore. So vanity press is a term that is completely outdated. If there is somebody still doing it like that, then please call me. 918-841-6034. We'll talk. There's a much more effective way to publish your book and to spend your money, because you're looking at, like I said, thousands and thousands of dollars just to print the book. So vanity press is a phrase or a statement that's overused. There aren't any vanity presses anymore. Any publisher you call that's going to do this for you for whatever the fee, whether they're a low end, kind of author house style, or they're very high end, who charges you $50,000. That's not a vanity press, because you're going to get distribution. You're going to have the option to add marketing. You're going to have, print on demand for the most part, which we'll talk about the differences between offset and print on demand later. But it's a misconception to think that my content is not any good if somebody doesn't believe in me enough to pay me for it. That's not how this industry works. Your content may be fantastic, and as a matter of fact, you're doing it an injustice not to get it published, even if you have to pay, so you can prove it's good. And you can go back to a traditional publisher at that point and say, look, I did this. I sold 5,000 copies. This is good content. You guys need to publish me. And if you sell 5,000 copies, the discussion will be real. So, whether it's subsidy publishing, which means you're, subsidizing your publishing through another company and they're doing most of the work, you're just paying for it. Partnership publishing. There's a lot of different, there's author mills who basically crank out books for $200, $300, $500, and it's all template driven. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this that still fall under the heading of self-publishing. But really what you want to do is work with someone who can customize a publishing plan for you. That's not, an off the rack, we do this, 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 and this, and then we spit your book out. It doesn't matter how much they pay or how much they charge and what services they offer. If it's all off the rack, cookie cutter type stuff, it may or may not work for you. You need something that's customizable. And so regardless of what you think about self-publishing, and regardless of what blog you read out there that talks bad about self-publishing, at the end of the day, you're going to self-publish your book. I mean, yeah, there'll be some publisher out there who'll say, oh, you're traditionally published, but you have to pay $4,000 for marketing. It's a scam. You're still paying money to get your book published. Just some people aren't upfront about it. So you're going to always, not always, but for the most part, you're going to pay if you want it done properly and professionally. I mean, there is no traditional publisher, for the most part, picking books up that are done for free on Amazon because, there's a lot of other things that go into the design and editing and marketing and that kind of thing. So there's ways you can do it. And I know there's a stigma to it. But that, think about how many people try to get their music listened to for, years or decades or whatever. And then when YouTube became a thing, distributing content on YouTube, people became famous. Some people almost overnight, because they were able to get their content into the hands of the people who, their intended audience. And so as an author, the main way to do that, to get your content in the hands of the people who would enjoy it, is you have to figure out a way to get this book in book form that looks good, professional, solid, it's well edited, it's marketed, and then you need to get it to those people. And so you really can't do that by just mailing out query letters for 10 years. So there's a lot more detailed stuff that goes into self-publishing, and we're going to talk about those over time. But up front, I just wanted to kind of give you some options. I mean, there is old school vanity press if you want to do it like that, but that's silly. There's a lot of author mills out there, and honestly, if you just want 50 books to hold in your hand and give away at Christmas, that's probably the way to do it. And then there are subsidy publishers or partnership publishers, or boutique publishers, white glove, there's a lot of those things out there too. But ideally you work with somebody, and obviously this is a pitch for kind of what we do. Ideally you work with somebody who will read your manuscript, because I'm one of the only people out there that's working in the self-publishing industry that's going to do that for you. Somebody reads your manuscript, they make suggestions, they put together a proposal, and then you guys work together from there going forward. So, but like I said, there's lots of ways to do it. There's no real wrong answer. It really depends on what you're looking for, what your content is, what your goals for that content are, and then we kind of go from there. So don't be fooled by people who feel bad about their own projects, so they publish a little blog that rips everybody else that's self-publishing a book. You need to go back and look at the source, look at the books they published, look at their cover designs, read a couple of them, read their content and their editing. The great thing about the internet is anybody can say anything. The terrible thing about the internet is anybody can say anything. So, that's, you want to do what's right for you. And I think most people will eventually figure that out. Do your research, talk to a bunch of folks. you know, and then you pick what's right for you. And if that works, um, you know, that's awesome. If it doesn't work, there's probably some reasons for it. You know, if maybe after the book was done, there wasn't enough emphasis put on marketing, or maybe you moved on to something else. We never really know what does or doesn't go right for a book that doesn't, you know, isn't successful. It doesn't make it where the author wants to make. All we can do is put in the best possible chance to succeed. And then, you know, eventually it stands on its own. But you've got to get it to that point. You know, it's like throwing a baby out in a professional basketball game. He's probably not going to do very well. I wouldn't assume a whole lot of points or rebounds. But, you know, if you take a young kid and you put him in AAU ball, and then he, you know, goes up through EYBL, and then he plays high school ball, and he's playing the summer circuit, and then he goes to Indiana University to play college ball, a plug for my favorite school. You know, he plays a couple of years there and averages 20 points a game, and then on, you know, middle of June on draft night, there's a good chance he's going to hear his name called. But there was a lot of work in between the first time he picked up a basketball and when he heard that, you know, heard David Stern call his name. Or Adam Silver, sorry, David Stern, I don't think he's around anymore. And so that's what you want to be careful of, is that you're throwing the book out there to the world expecting it to stand on its own right away when we haven't put in the work on the front end. So again, like, comment. If you have questions, certainly reach out to me, and I'd love to be able to help.